St. Lucia, this is Open Mic, and we're back on the third segment of our program. When we left off, we were just getting into the meat of the GNT, which Mary was going to highlight to us, so we can learn a bit more about where the country is at this point in time.
Well, we have written requesting that the Prime Minister put the GNT in place, and he has acknowledged and said that he is going to put the GNT in place. And I also know there is the mention of a 2-week time frame to conduct the negotiations, which I know is impossible, but a person can always try. And with that 2-week period, there was no start time. When is the start of that 2 weeks? Is it going to be sometime next month, and then we start, say for instance, August 10th, and we finish 2 weeks later?
Correct.
Or, you know, there is no time frame set, or time when you initiate, when the 2 weeks start, right? So the 2 weeks, when is it supposed to start? We do not know, because we have already sent in our proposals for working conditions. And we have indicated that we are ready to negotiate, to start salary negotiations whenever the Prime Minister is ready with his negotiating team. So we are waiting.
Yeah, but you're talking the negotiations you're going to carry on. That is for the second triennium or for present?
It's for the present triennium. It started last year, this year, and it goes into next year. So we are almost halfway through the triennium we're supposed to be negotiating for.
The Prime Minister says that time is not on his side, that he has a limited amount of time to do what he has to do, okay? There has been rumors being circulated, which both the Prime Minister and his press secretary have vehemently denied, that the Treasury Department has already been alerted that a pay cut will take place as of July 31st. It's your word, well actually not your word, but it's his word against that of the CSA members. So what is going on?
I'm glad you said members, Mr. Shastri, because the members work. The members are the ones who work in the government departments.
Yes.
So they know when the order is given, if the order is given.
That's what I thought.
Right? So, however, one thing I have observed here is that we tend to try and keep information that's supposed to be disseminated to the public. We hog it and we keep it to ourselves. This is supposed to be public information, okay? But we have not been told. Not only that, we are the workers is going to impact on directly. We have not been told, okay? So there is something secret about it. And whenever you see something secret about things, it cannot be a good thing, right? Because that is what allowed incest and all those things to foster for so long. So the secrecy surrounding these things. Once you open it up, and this is what Jugba does so well. When he knows something is going to happen, he lets it out in the public. And sometimes it is withdrawn, just to prove that he is wrong. But really and truly, when you hear those things, you have to remember the phrase that says, La fille pas sortir sans differ. You understand?
I understand,
So I think there was some fire to that smoke that I blew out. Whether it will happen or not, we have to wait and see.
Well, you know, it's the same situation. It was the opposition indicated clearly that the 5% pay cut was actually legislated because it was in the budget, okay? And both the Prime Minister and his press secretary have tried to assure St. Lucians that it wasn't so. But then, you know, the question is, in fact, only very recently I talked to a chartered accountant, and he said, but Mr. Shastri, if it is already been indicated how the money is going to be come into the revenue, it's virtually, it has been legislated, whether they want to accept it or not. And you see, these are the areas of concern for the public that worry us, you know. As you rightly said, there should be no form of secrecy. We know that the times are difficult. All islands are going through a difficult period, and it's high time that, you know, unless we all get together to try to solve the problem, we will go nowhere, you know. And I think the Prime Minister is an intelligent man. He must know that with 10,000 workers, you know, it would be impossible to run the country. And as business people, we have already suffered tremendously since the implementation of VAT. I'll be honest with you, I have no bones about it. I said so from day one, that VAT was a disaster. In fact, I told the Prime Minister that I think there should have been a 5% sales tax, and which would have covered, because the amount of work it takes from the different sectors. even to, we are now becomes CSA employees, because the amount of work it takes to prepare our VAT, we have to get more staff, we have to use more paper, and we have to go now and collect the money when that's not our job.
That's
you know?
right.
And it's
that's
so
right.
difficult, you know. And the thing is this, that the people that we deal with now, especially from our side where we're in the real estate business, they look at us as though that we're the ones driving them crazy. And my heart goes out, and I'm telling you, Mary, my heart bleeds for those people, because all the young entrepreneurs, in my opinion, are gone.
Wow.
I'm telling you so, because down at in our business, take Gablewoods Mall as a perfect example. We have 41 clients. I never lost a client in 18 years. After VAT came in, within 2 years, we lost 31 clients. 31 clients. And the people who have come now cannot pay VAT, they can't pay electricity. It's a nightmare. And you know, to watch people, young St. Lucians, crumbling, and you know, people who could do something, you know, before for themselves. They're not a part of a STEP program or a NICE program. These are people who are earning a living and paying a little bit of taxes. And these people are gone, you know. It's really heartbreaking.
And when you try to figure out what did we do last year with 9 point something, 900 and close to $50 million, that was the budget.
Yeah.
What did we do with it?
Yeah.
Where did it go? You understand? I ask myself that all the time. We didn't see any new schools. We didn't see any new hospitals, any new roads, except for the thing in Viewfort there that cost how many $1 million, and it's not going anywhere. Only I see the dogs recreating on it and stuff. Where is the money going?
Yeah.
I am sure, Mr. Shasney, if you give that money to a group of people who are more innovative thinking, they can take that money and generate a lot more than what we are getting out of it.
Yeah.
Because I don't see what it is we're getting out of it.
You know, Business Focus it's the managing director, Mr. Lokesh Singh, was on television about a month or two ago, and he said very clearly that in Guyana, the Minister of Finance is not the Prime Minister, and he's been there for 8 years, and we know that Guyana had a growth of 6%, one of the few areas that had a growth of 6%. Because, you know, this is why when we run a business, we have an accountant, and we have a financial department, and I've said it time and time again. You know, people look at business people. We have to go out and borrow money. When you go out and borrow money, every year you have to put in a financial report to the bank. But more importantly, in the last 2 years, they want it quarterly.
There you go.
They want it quarterly. So that only shows you the significance and the importance laid to accountability. I understand that it is 7 years since the last audit has been done in government.
In government, oh yes, yes, yes.
How can that be possible? You know, how can that be possible?
So we don't know what is happening to all that money in the budget. We really don't know. Where is it going? What are we getting out of it? We don't know. So year after year, we do the same thing. And then you see government is coming and asking the trade unions now to negotiate a deficit. Trade unions do not negotiate deficits. They do not negotiate deficits.
Because you all have no say in where...
We don't. And when there's a surplus, do you hear anybody calling the trade unions? Did you hear anybody calling that? No. The trade unions have nothing to do with how you spend your budget. You understand? So it is wrong for you to say, you know, I'm waiting for the trade unions. No, you can only wait for trade unions to negotiate for better working conditions and salaries for their members. And you know, we just like to create chaos in St. Lucia. You think the Prime Minister doesn't know that? I mean, when have you ever heard of a trade union negotiating a deficit? It is not what we do. You can call major stakeholders to come together to give advice and to, you know, discuss a deficit situation, yes. But this is not what trade unions do. Well, and you have all your advisors. I have not heard the Prime Minister call his #1 advisors in the public service. These are the permanent secretaries. What is their input in this whole thing? They have not been called. These are the people you call and say, we have this problem now, because they are the ones who administer the ministry's budget. So you call these administrators of the budget and you say, this is what we have. We have a shortage of funds. Because that's what the deficit is. It's a shortage of funds.
Yeah.
it's over, you know, what.
And the thing is that
what do we do?
the Prime Minister has been around for 17 years. So, I mean, he had to know or to see that the country had been going down and down and down.
When he gave the 4% last year.
Yeah,
Didn't he
correct.
know this year he would be in that situation?
Why did he do it?
So there is another reason, Mr. Shastri. There is an underlying reason. And my suspicion is that the Prime Minister had no intentions of us knowing that there would be a 5% cut. When we see that cut, it would have been when we got paid. We would see that, hips, our salary is missing something. Everybody would jump up, find out from the Treasury what's happening. Treasury would say, didn't you all know there's a cut in the wages and so on and so forth?
Mary? Yeah.
But when would they have told us? We were not told. We were not informed. Until I saw this thing and I said, hey, there it is. So my suspicion is that when, at whatever point we were able to, we noticed it was there, we would decide, hey, we're not taking that. We strike. And then the Prime Minister would have a reason to say that he has to go to IMF. You see what I'm saying? My suspicion is that the 5%, asking for the 5%, he does not expect the trade unions to take a 5% without consultation. You understand? And at a point where we're saying it is going to shrink the economy, he does not expect us to do something like that. If you know it's going to shrink the economy, why would you allow it? So what he wants is for us to say no to the 5% so that he can say, okay, I have to go to IMF. Because he needs a lot more than the 18 million and nobody can tell us where is the balance coming from. So my suspicion is, and they're going to say that I'm starting a RoRo or whatever, whatnot, but Mr. Shastri, what do you think about that? Because if you cannot tell us where the balance is coming from, why do you want that 5%? Now we are hearing about close to $2 million in debt that has to be collected by the end of this month.
200 million, not
200 million, sorry. Yeah. Where is that coming from?
I know. When I heard
from
that,
the 18?
I was flabbergasted.
Yes.
Because, you know, the thing is this, Mary, that I have attended many, what's called events or programs when we have met at the various institutions where different prime ministers come down and they get $600 million in bonds, and everybody was as though that this thing was just coming from heaven like manna. And now that, you know, this money has to be paid back, because what I'm hearing, I think from Mrs. Emmanuel, who was on the show, she said that if they don't pay this money by November or whatever is due, the country is going to default, and then we will have a serious problem. But I mean, this is, you're talking of a few months.
But where will you get it from?
Sorry?
The 200 million has to be paid by the end of July.
End of July.
Yes. Yeah. So where is it going to come from? That 18 million? How do you translate it into 200 million?
So we are definitely heading towards
So this 5% is a deliberate attempt to use it as an excuse to go to the IMF.
Okay.
But we do not have to go to the IMF, Mr. Shastri. If we give you $900 million, that money in the budget, for St. Lucia, don't you think you can turn this economy around?
Yeah, but I want to be fair with whichever government is in power. The government has a lot of expenses, you know. For a small country, we have roads, we have hospitals, we have schools, we have teachers. There's a lot of expenditure, and their salaries to be paid. So the money really goes quickly. And of course, the thing is this, that one of the reasons why I was against the VAT, it's because I always say that a growth comes from the private sector, not the public sector. The private sector has to work, create everything else, and then the government gets its share in taxes. Government gets 33% of everything you make in this country. That is their role. They are 33% shareholders in anything and everything that we do. And that's how it has to be, you know. And the thing is this, that, for instance, you know, as I've said over and over, all governments have to start to think outside the box. Just like you mentioned Grenada, they're thinking outside the box. I'm cutting my embassies, okay? There are things that we could do before that we can no longer do. We're not capable of doing it. In my own business, it happens. I have, believe it or not, that even at my age, I have to work harder, I have to work longer hours to be able to manage my business, failing which I will end in trouble, and I will be owing the banks, and I will not be able to pay my bills, I will not be able to pay my staff. You know, we have a lot of people working for us. And this is Open Mic. This is the end of our third segment. We'll be right back.